I have never had 1 million naira in my account in my life at the time. What do I want to do with 1 million naira? Sitting in my account.
I look at people that are way older than me. I've always wondered, how do they see life? Like, I've always been wondering, oh, okay, how do they grow up? What are the conditions and situations that contribute to them being able to achieve the things that they have achieved? And that's why I've had it in my mind for close to a year now to sit with my grandpa, just to understand his perspective towards life, to understand his upbringing and the values and conditions and situations that shaped him. And so when he clocked 90, I felt this should be the right time that I should do this, right? Now this video would be like a mini podcast, so it's quite long, but I believe that it's worth it because this conversation is something that is like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So I'm hoping that you would watch till the end. I'm hoping that you would share with others. And I'm hoping that you would subscribe to this channel and that you turn on notifications if that is your thing. I'm just so glad and I'm so excited. I feel so fulfilled that I'm able to document this, and I'm hoping that you would also watch and listen, learn, and stay peaceful. How was your childhood like?
As a child, we lived in the mission house, and as children of the mission house, there were no companions. The pastor and his family were revered, and very, very few people come near us because the mission house was isolated. And so were we. By and large, that was our childhood. We did nothing else but from home to school, from school to choir in the church, to Sunday school on Sunday, to what we call the BYPU, Baptist Young People's Union, in the afternoon, evening service, back home. We didn't mix.
So which means that experience, being in the mission house and being in the church environment and all that, it kind of formed your way of discipline.
Yes.
I've noticed that you like being around in a place where there is a kind of a little bit of silence. You like being around nature a lot.
Well, like I said, the mission was quiet. The nearest neighbors to us at that time were the missionaries. That was the way we grew up. Life in the mission house was a life of prayer.
So from that experience, with the amazing things that you have done, but how did you come out, will I say, extraordinary?
I will be boasting if I say the life is extraordinary. I want to say that starting from a humble life, it is nothing but God's grace. And that is why one is always thankful to God. Because we believe that God can propel us.
How did you now start answering questions like choosing your own line of career, your own passions, things that you're interested in and all of that?
Well, at that stage, we call ourselves rural children because Oyo was rural. By providence, we all made it in our own little way. Life at that time, we reached peaks that we never thought we could reach.
But for you at that time, there wasn't really like maybe YouTube videos, podcasts, and all the things that we learn from now. So how did you learn certain things, especially things like your mindset towards life, your maybe work ethic, and all of that?
Yeah, we believe it was providence. And that's why I said the heights that we reached was God's grace. I believe that God already has a pattern. God already has a set way. And He's going to continue to channel that life. Mind you, the devil will play his own part by trying to deviate the mindset. But the Almighty God is always there.
Basically, it was just like, living your day to day, not like there was this extraordinary vision, like, it will be this, it will be that, but somehow God just has a way that He made His plan and purpose and mission just come in place into your life.
Really, there was nothing that you got exposed to because of your background as a son from the mission house. I had a classmate in Baptist Process, Christopher Adioye. He was from Bumasho. He is now late, and somehow he got an opportunity and went abroad to study medicine. But he was writing to me, asking me to come. Well, his parents were well off. They could afford it. Mine weren't. They could take Chelsea. However, my mother got to know that Christopher Adioye was inviting me to come.
Wow.
So my mother said, okay, we'll find a way to get you to go. Even if we have to sell everything we have, including our clothes and so on and so on. She was Mama Misha.
So that was how you got.
So that was how I went. Because Christopher Adioye kept on asking me to come, and of course I was also going to do medicine. That was how I went to meet my friend in Glasgow. Wow. But when I got to Glasgow, I was a private student. He was also a private student, but his father, he had the means.
Okay.
I didn't. The little resources that I had as a private student, I could not afford to lose a year. And I got drafted into engineering instead of medicine.
Wow.
And so I continued with engineering. And of course, when I finished, I also started practicing. And of course, they made me so comfortable that they tried to encourage me not to come back to Nigeria. But I said to myself, I must go back to my parents who had labored and suffered that much to send me abroad. It would be disservice to them if I don't come back. My boss gave me a permanent appointment. I refused it.
Wow.
Yes. Well, if it had been now, it would probably have been otherwise. Because if you get a permanent employment abroad now, the state that Nigeria and Nigerian economy is, one wouldn't come home.
I think what's so important is that you were driven by the love of the parents.
Yes.
Is it because of the upbringing, maybe the love, the care, or you just felt so like indebted to them?
Well, you will probably call it indebtedness, yes. Where you are indebted when you have the feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you just think you don't owe anybody any obligation. and you fly away like a bird. But because of the love, I could not see anything else at that time. I had every reason, if I wanted to stay on. At that time I was already qualified to become a British citizen, but I just decided that I was going back home when we came back. Yeah.
Could you see that as maybe God's providence? Were there times where you felt like, why didn't they give me what I wanted and all of that?
That's why I said it's providence. You know, God has a way of directing one. Remember that my mother decided to take me from a school here and threw me to Ejigbo. From Ejigbo to Abeokuta. I mean, all that, to me, that's the way I considered my life. It was providence. If it had been a woman that said, never mind, everybody we see around is a teacher, why shouldn't my own son be a teacher? Everything around us that you can see were teachers. So there's no other mindset but you leave school, you come back and you become a teacher. That was everything that we see around at the time. So really it was providence. And I went to Abeokuta, okay, I went to Glasgow. My mindset was medicine. But when I did my 3 A-level subjects, and they were maths and physics, there was no way they could put me into the medical school. And I was a private student. If I decided to continue striving to do chemistry and biology at advanced level, where will my resources come from? I was not a government student, so if I lose a year, where will my money come for the next year? So since I was drafted to engineering, I just decided to continue. I know I had 2 or 3 more years ahead of me, whereas in the medical school I would have about 4, 5, even 6 years. However, eventually, by the time I was in the engineering classes in the first year, my BSc Part 1, I had been given a government scholarship. And I got paid my arrears, and at least, I was more comfortable. My mind was at peace because I didn't have to
feel like you're disturbing people at home.
Because if I finish the resources I have, how do I know when more will come from whom? Here was a man whose salary was paid in November after the harvest. What we now call Thanksgiving.
Okay.
First Sunday in November. It used to be a harvest. There will be harvest Thanksgiving. There will be, on the Monday, there will be a bazaar. People will bring products from the farm. They will cook dishes. We will eat. They will sell products. Church will make money. That's when they find money to pay his annual salary of £60 a year. How will I know when more money will come? So you can see how providence has been
consistent and constant
yes,
in that.
Yes.
Wow.
And we always believe that even when our parents didn't have much, God's goodness was always there. He has a plan for each life, and it doesn't matter what you do, what you think. If you try to force your way into something else, he has a way of bringing you back to his own plan.
I can see a lot of the background in a lot of how you have been going in your life's journey, like the discipline, the mindset, the teaching is so there. So have you ever had that experience that maybe you are feeling like you want to do certain things that are not in line with these values that you have been brought up with?
Well, there must have been derailment, occasional derailment, family life, things like that. In one's private life, there has been derailment.
And how have you been able to bring yourself back, more like call yourself back to order?
There was always that guidance at the back. Of course, you can never forget, like we always say, the stone from which you were hewn. You can never forget, no matter how derailed you are, you still remember, this was my root, that was my root. And there are certain things that one should do, there are certain things that one should not do. There are things that you should give preference. I tell my children, I tell everybody around me, what do I have? I don't have anything. Anything that I have is by God's grace. So I don't hang on to life, as it were.
At your time, early 20s and all of that, were there people also that had that mindset of, I don't want to wait, I just want to have something, I just want to maybe go through it this way and quickly earn and do something that is not really right? Are there people like that? Or
there may be people like that. If there were, they were very few. But I cannot say for sure that there weren't. Society is made up of all sorts of people. And we never came across, we didn't associate ourselves, perhaps because of our background, because of our upbringing, and of course, yours completely rural. We didn't go into societies where there were such people. So, I think that helped also in keeping us at our own level.
Yes, I think I agree with that, because sometimes, like when I look at Oyo, sometimes I grew up in Oyo too, and there's this level of, even though yes, it's not like we have companies, it's not industrialized as it were, but there's this sense of sanity.
Yes,
that is there, because people, I believe that it's the things that maybe go into our minds, or things that we see that we feel like we want to exhibit. But somehow, because we don't even see these things, we feel like we don't even have an idea of it at all.
But I still say that no matter what your beginning is, providence will take you to wherever you are. The children that grew up in Oyo have reached levels that children that grew up in Lagos reached. That there is no limit as long as one continues to follow in the steps that Providence is leading.
So in trying to draw things to a close and all that, let me just ask that, how does life actually look like at 90? As young adults, most times we're always like, there's something, maybe we're chasing something that will get there, maybe we feel like we have it all, and there will be no problem again at all, no challenges again at all, no regrets at all, and all of that. Is that something that is realistic? Because looking at life from at that bed high perspective, at your age, looking at things, how does life look like at 90?
Well, here we are. At 90, life is quiet. To me, life is what you make of it. It is what you make of it. We don't have plenty, but we have enough. We thank God for having enough. We don't lock our front doors. We don't stand a bulldog in front. People come in and they go. We have no fears, except for insecurity in the country, the general insecurity. We have no fears. And that is because of the way we have lived our lives. If you live a life of satisfaction, you don't walk by somebody else's routine. You don't look at anybody's clock. You take life as it comes. You have satisfaction with what you have. You have a mindset to help people as much as you can. Then there is no fear. There is no fear. People come in to seek advice. People come in to seek help. And you help as much as you can. When you can. To people outside, when they look at us, perhaps they think one is affluent, but it is only we ourselves that know what our limits are. I know my limits. I know my circle. I stay within my circle. I have never had 1 million naira in my account in my life at a time. What do I want to do with 1 million naira? It's sitting in my account. What do I want to do with millions in my account? Only to wake up in the morning, find something to eat, something in the afternoon, something in the evening, sleep, wake up the following morning. Well, I cannot sleep on 2 beds at a time. I cannot live in 2 houses at the same time.
Right, sir.
So, what is the use of amassing unnecessary wealth? As long as, through God's grace, I can afford to help those that are in my immediate surrounding, it is enough for me. Satisfaction. Satisfaction. Very important.
So contentment,
Contentment. Yes.
trusting God's providence.
Yes.
All those things are very, very important.
These are the things that help.
For anybody like that is watching this, that will be watching this, especially in their teenage years, young adults, that they are overwhelmed, like how will my life turn out to be, what will I end up, and all of that, blah 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 blah. Will I even make it up to this old age and all of that? What is something that you have for them to kind of return them back to a place of peace, sanity, and intentionality?
Don't jump guns. Don't race beyond your speed. That's about all I can say. youths are running beyond their speed these days. Get rich quick syndrome. In our days, there were no such things. People are not satisfied with whatever position they find themselves. They want to not climb now. When you climb step by step. They want to jump steps and reach the peak in one day. And of course, it leads to crashes.
Being at this age, it means that there are people that maybe you grew up with that they are now not on this earth anymore. How has that shaped you, and how has that helped you gain a part of perspective towards life?
Well, yesterday I was writing a condolence message at the Palace of the Alafe, and one of the sentences that I put there was, "Adieu, we are all mortals. We are all destined to die. We are all coming." He has gone to join his ancestors. So would we all. Yes. So if that is the end of man, what is the struggle? Why struggle? Why jump and not take step by step?
Thank you so much for that, Grandpa. I'm so grateful and honored, and I'm privileged to have you in my life. And thank you so much for everything that you do in my life, for our family, and thank you so much for sharing this wisdom. Thank you for taking your time. I'm so grateful once again, and I pray to God to also have the grace to be this agile and alive at this age, and like you said, taking it step by step. And
I'm so happy to have you people around. Children growing up around me, following in modest footsteps. And I hope and sincerely pray that no matter what your aspirations are, that by God's grace you will also make it.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.